morning. Last, just enter them into the grade book. Despite my resolution to do so on a more frequent basis, but it's been a pretty busy week. So patience is a virtue. So work on it. Try to keep sending them to me though. Okay, whatever you got, your introduction, who are you, kind of a thing, and then last week we started talking about careers, jobs, and professions. And this started to get you to think about where you'd like to be 2 and 5 and 10 years from now. And a lot of times you're not going to know. I kind of mentioned that to you also. But my career path was not linear. It wasn't from point A to point here the way I planned it for the last, almost 40 years now. Lots of things happened. But I remained teachable and I like to learn. So that allowed me to do a lot of different things. I know my skill sets. I know what I like to do. I like to be involved with 100 things. I do not like to be focused in on too much of anything for too long. I'm very, whatever, ADD or whatever the word is, scattered or something. But I like that diversity. It makes me happy. And I like being happy. What I don't like is too much repetition. Not that I can't do repetition. I can. If I get into something, sometimes I can go with it for a while. But usually I'm easily distracted. So we start looking at our personalities, who we are, what we do, how we do it. Can't stand the disorganized. They can't handle being in something that's messy and chaotic. And that's great. We need a lot of people like that. We don't have too many detail-oriented people anymore. So you come up with stuff that's really nice and clean. My kitchen has never looked like that, ever. But there are people that do that. So I'm trying to get you to learn a little bit about what the profession is, what the possibilities are, who you are, and how you can fit best in. Lots of diversity last time. We need lots of diverse ideas and thoughts and all of those things. So that's very important. We're going to keep pushing that as well. So the question came up twice towards the end of the lesson. I wanted to take some time back up a step and go over this. The question came up, I like to design houses. You talk about engineering, you talk about civil engineering, you were talking about construction, management. You talked about architecture, going into architecture school, a licensed architect, maybe through or through university, some of those things. I want to design. I want to flip houses, make some money. I bet there's people who thought of that, right? Always get probably a few others. The market's kind of good and bad for that, but that's another topic. By the way, everything's a business. Remember that. Everything is a business. Education, healthcare, construction, and civil engineering, and architecture, and everything is a business. So I would encourage you to always have a back mindset of being a business person. It's probably one of my greatest weaknesses and greatest failures as I look at my life. I'm not a good business person. I can get a lot of work. I know a lot of people. I can get jobs. I stay busy. Pretty okay financially, but I could have been from here. I could have been a lot farther if I would have taken business more serious. And I did. And I had a poor mentor in business. So maybe it's your mentor. Maybe it's who you hang around with and who you learn from. So, kind of keep that in mind also. Let's go back to the housing, drawing houses. Reality. There's a group of people that I put my students onto to get them to think about it. And it's called the American Institute of Building Design, AIBD. Might even have a link in Blackboard up to this, I can't remember. But these are the folks that are really good at designing houses. They design typically custom houses, usually, not always. They design some upscale stuff, again, usually, but not always. They have sort of a unique skill set in that they can, almost like interior designers, they like cabinetries and the looks and the feels, but they're also capable of understanding the foundation has to be, maybe 8 inches, 10 inches thick, and walls are made out of brick, and they kind of understand construction. So there's lots of stuff. I'm not going to go over all of this, but there are lots of stuff. And there is a local chapter of the AIBD. I know probably 3, 4, 5 of those folks that are there. I do some surveying, so I do the site plans, and they do the house plans, and those are two different things. Typically, the surveyor does the site plan, the properties, the contours, driveways, slopes, water lines, where the water is going to drain, that kind of a thing. It's typically a surveyor, but the actual house itself is designed by somebody, and it could be these people. I'm going to raise this up on the right, and then I'll probably blank the screen out here a little bit. Reality is you do not need a license to design a home. You don't need an engineer's license. You don't need a surveyor's license. You don't even need a driver's license. Joke there. You really don't need any licenses to design or to draw a set of house plans. You have to have some skill. You have to have some ability. You probably should understand the codes of how it goes together, and what the building department requires to get a permit from. But they're not going to look for an architect or an engineer's seal in cases, except in a few things. So, design houses, you need some skill. And by far the most practical skill is CAD. Almost all house plans are drawn in CAD. Now, there are some other versions that are out there. AutoCAD is one. There's a SketchUp. Some of these folks in this AIBD, they use a VisiCAD or something. There are a few little flavors of CAD out there, but they put together a set of plans that allows you to, have a house. Some of them are, a lot of them are custom homes, but some of them are market homes, repetition homes, stock homes, whatever you want to call them. They might just make some changes to it. And we have a number of co-ops that go to different places that do some of this kind of stuff. Dries and Fisher, I don't know, I guess they have architects on staff, but by and large, they just have quality draftspeople and people who know what they're doing on staff with some experience. Now, again, you got to kind of work your way up. You got to know what you're doing, but you don't need a special license for it. And again, the only thing that you might need is you might need to hire an engineer occasionally. You might need to hire an engineer occasionally to do some of the design work in the structures area. So let's suppose you've got an oversized foundation. In other words, maybe you have like 10-foot ceilings in the basement. Okay. Well, that wall then becomes a little bit special. Okay. Up to about 8 feet, you can go to a code book and they say, if you're an 8-foot foundation, unexcavated fill, you've got this much difference at about 8 feet, then you can use a 10-inch foundation, and they'll tell you to put in a two number 4 rebars, and that's it. It's code. It's codified. It's what they call it's like everybody does it that way. We all know. You know, like a foundation. If you've got some hillside coming at you, if perhaps you're on it. Maybe you're on a hillside, and you've got an extra high foundation wall. Well, then you might have to have an engineer tell you how much rebar and where to place it and do a detail for that. By and large, the 2x, the floor joist, that you put in, they are, if it's a particular species of lumber or whatever, there is a table, a code book, that says if your span is, I don't know, it's probably about 16 feet or something like that, then you got to use a 2x12 at 16 inches on center. So as long as your plans reflect that, it's all good. Well, you know what? I kind of want to make this 20. I want to make this 20. Well, now you're beyond what's in that little table that is quantified already. You probably have to get an engineer to certify the fact that that is okay. little things, not crazy, but things like that. If you start to have some unique things like arches and big windows and openings and again structural kinds of things, then you might need an engineer to do the design for those selected pieces. But as far as floor layout, as far as all the other stuff that really goes into it, anything, you don't need to be an engineer. You know what you're doing. So here in probably next class, I will probably, you might even be, but I want to post house plans. And I have many. Tell you that probably 90% of what I've learned in this life is just simply looking at somebody else's stuff and sort of apply it to my cheating. It's not cheating, but look at how they something. Here's how they block. Okay, block like this. As how do they do the first floor, second floor, or plumbing, electrical? They did situation and kind of things that I like modify my how the business goes. You could go out as long as you have good AutoCAD a house. Now what happens is you'll do a house, and if you don't have a good to mimic, go into the building and the stuff on it. You know, fix this, fix this, fix this. This is wrong. This is out of the code book. You might have 20 things, 30 things. I've had tons of them. And I have to go through the code book, read it, go to the next, read it, fix it. 6-inch dirt must, the soil outside must 8 inches down, slope 6 inches away, or 6 inches away in the first 6 feet. In the first 6 feet. And then put it on design a house. That help anything? It's the same thing with rehabs, anything that's house and flipping, any of that kind of stuff. You need a building permit. You need a set of plans to get to that. You don't have to be as many. Any number of apartments, anything. In fact, everything else is all based upon the commercial code. There are blue zillions of codes in this world. I can't tell you how many there are. One you would on one house, flipping houses, as long as it's a 1-family, a 2-family, or a 3-family house, it falls into this category, and you do not need to be licensed. If it is a 4-family house, an apartment, anything else needs to have an engineer stamp here or an architect. They classify those as design professionals. Now this AIBD is trying to get design professionals. Now this AIBD is trying to get into some of this, certain people, trying to get them a license look so that there's some credential and all that kind of stuff. Credential, and they do a fabulous job. I couldn't say enough good things. And they have chapter meetings. And if you want to do that stuff, I go out and watch what they do it better than they do it. I think it's the absolute best way. It's like, I don't know anybody there, George. Well, here's where you got to step up and introduce yourself to each other. Like, hi, I'm George. Hi, I'm. Introduces himself. Everybody's meeting. Know George? Know George? Everybody's meeting. Think you know George? Yeah, I know George. Everybody knows George. It's incredible. How many people know George? At least you have something in common. Where are you studying? I'm in Cincinnati State. You know George? I know George. And it allows you to foot in the door, that network process that's extremely important in whatever field of endeavor you're going into. Okay? Now, so it needs to happen. I heard a saying the other day, you don't have friends, you don't have. Anyway. That answer your question. We probably can go off on a tangent, and it probably is something that you want to know about rather than into the next chapter. A national organization. I have no idea what they got. There's a lot of construction going on right at the moment. Fire design, very specialized. Again, good, very repeatable things that you can begin to network and find people to do stuff. All that. Any other questions or ideas or something you want to talk about? Oh yeah, that Homerama event. I think I mentioned it, but I'll mention it again. Parkside Lake, again, a lot of fancy special houses. I've not been there. What all is going on? This is my first time even going out to visit them. I'll find my way a day or two before. But I do plan to be there that morning. Another organization, the Home Builders of America, is going to be something here. The profession is bigger than they are, and they become part of these groups. And a lot of times there's movement. I used to work for Zika. Now I work for, Howler Homes. Or, you know what? I used to be over here at Fisher. Now I'm going to Dries. And there's a lot of crossover as the money goes. People surveying that opportunity to you. You're going to start a co-op here in about 10 minutes. We're going to 5 minutes. We're going to start talking about co-op. You're one of these. You got to get up. And they're looking for people, so they're hungry. Oh, here comes a nice. My name's Ed Zika. Oh, hi, George. What do you do, George? Oh, design houses. Really? You like AutoCAD? Yeah, I had a couple of weeks of it already. You'd like to make, designing a house and then get $2 million house in there. Yeah. Well, I'm Ed Zika. My company built this. And that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. And they'll hand you a card and say, what? Are you going to interview? Are you going to go on co-op? Well, I'd like to go on co-op or whatever. Maybe only one. Maybe we haven't had them for a while. Sometimes they'll say, who's your teacher over there? Say Armstrong or Decker, Carol Morman, Elias Figali. They're going to know them. They're going to know us. So you name drop a little bit. It's a big deal. Name dropping is a big deal. Just makes people feel comfortable. But when you co-op, when you interview, I'd like you to interview it. Okay. And to do that, we'd like to interview the guy that you're going to interview with, or whatever, so and so. Chris Simpson. He's actually with Jurgensen, but I'll make up this. Oh yeah? Okay. Tell him that, we had this conversation. Be there too, right? Hey Chris, come on, remember. Who are you? I'm George. This is Chris. Chris, glad to meet you. And our Zika is like, so you start to do this networking. You can't know how you walk down the street. Get cards. I guess LinkedIn. These people hire the people that hire the people that you want to meet for yourself. All right. So where are we? Not to talk too much, but there's just a lot to tell you first. Next term especially, but even if you're going to go summer, you want to attend orientation session. I think they're still virtual this year. Sometimes they're in person, they're not. 3 of them, 3 state, one something or other. Found out if they take a student and when they come, they understand. Like, oh, I got to learn. in Cincinnati. So we value what's called experience and experiential learning, stuff, doing it. The reason is, and I've seen it for surveying or just or teach them some math, whatever, it's important that they learn it. So we value co-op here at Cincinnati State too. We're, I think, number 7 or 8 in community college co-op night sessions, which helps introduce you to your co-op coordinator, what the process is, how you find a job, and how they help you find a job, and how you take the job, and things that go along with it, when you have to get stuff together, and all of those things. So they go over that, and especially next semester. Now I got under co-op Jennifer scholarship for Cincinnati State architectural students, and to say, Jennifer, these are the people. Here's the information about it. I don't give her the money, but then she gives it to students, and then they can apply for these scholarships. And there's lots. That Home Builders Association has one of them. The ACI construction, thousands and thousands of dollars out there. A lot of times on they're going to want you to create a resume.